Well, they call themselves anti-war activists, but the FBI says they did not believe in peace. Far from it.
Newly released court documents say the group was planning armed revolution right here in the United States. Tom Lydon's here with this bizarre story. And Tom, was this just idle talk, or are they serious about this?
You know, guys, that's really at the heart of this case. Were these just philosophical ideas about power and political change, which is protected free speech, or were they actively planning a violent revolution right here in the U.S.? These court documents, the FBI says this case was about terror here at home and abroad. But the two people at the center of the case say it was an effort to suppress their political beliefs.
It's full of lies, manipulations.
Jess Sundin is a well-known anti-war activist whose South Minneapolis home was raided by the FBI back in 2010, along with the home of another anti-war activist, Mick Kelly.
My computer was taken away. They spent a lot of time looking at my books.
But 4 years later, they've never been charged with a crime, and the search warrants remained sealed until today. Those documents portray their group, the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, as intent on the violent overthrow of the U.S. government. Their conversations recorded by two undercover agents who infiltrated their group 2 years earlier, before the Republican National Convention in St. Paul.
Sundin stated we wouldn't want anyone to join our group who didn't support armed revolution in the United States.
I don't know whether or not I ever said that. Our organization believes we need revolution.
The FBI says Kelly went so far as to put together a map of areas in Minneapolis they would need to seize as part of an armed revolution in Minnesota.
That's silly. I haven't seen these maps.
Do you ever believe in violence as a means to achieve change?
Oh, sure. I think that that's an interesting question.
The other interesting question? The FBI says they were funneling money to foreign terror groups. FARC in Colombia, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
I've interviewed leaders of the Palestinian movement, and those interviews appear on the web.
Do you think it's okay to send money, support, to groups that the U.S. has declared terrorist organizations?
I know that it is not legal to do that. And so I don't do that.
Sundin says their trips were fact-finding missions. The money, humanitarian assistance. After 4 years under the microscope, she believes it's all an effort to silence her anti-war activities. And yet, when it comes to that question about violence here at home, it was hard to get a simple answer.
Do you believe in violence to change the power structure of this country?
In the realm of ideas, I think that it's very unlikely that the generals and the politicians will turn over the keys to the White House and the Pentagon.
Ideas versus action, that's the question. The FBI declined to comment tonight, a spokesperson saying the search warrant speaks for itself. Altogether, 22 people were targeted in this case, 4 separate FBI field offices involved, search warrants here and in Chicago, and not one single charge. And in fact, guys, we still don't know whether that's an ongoing active investigation, which is why they wanted to release the search warrant. And we still don't have the answer here.
Okay, but at the same time, they're saying this was humanitarian aid.
Right.
I mean, do we have any idea how much money they were supplying to these groups?
We're talking very little money. I mean, $4,000 here, $1,000 there. You know, it's very similar, really, to the case of the Somali terror group, Al-Shabaab, also declared a terrorist organization by the U.S. There are some parallels with this as well. You know, the idea is there material support for terrorism? And in fact, the U.S. Supreme Court has split on what material support is. They even ruled that free speech alone can be considered support if it is coordinated by that terror group. But you know, as Jess Sundin said today, one person's terrorist, another person's freedom fighter. That's where they're coming from on this.
All right.
A very gray area.